Hi, welcome to Lesson 2 of City Vision University's Nonprofit Educational Program Design course. I'm Andrew Sears, and in this lesson we're going to focus on assessing clients' needs and capabilities. So, Lesson 2, Learning Outcomes. After completing this lesson, we want you to be able to describe the characteristics of adult learners and your clients, as well as the implications that will have on your educational program design. So that's going to be in the Week 2 forum. You're going to be conducting an interview to assess client educational needs. So that's Week 2, Assignment 1. And then you're going to be developing a detailed assessment of your client's educational needs and a plan to assess client needs and capabilities in the future. So that's your Week 2 final project 1. So just to frame this in the analysis framework, so you're in Week 2. So there's 4 weeks that's focused on some of the analysis. And in Week 2, you're focusing on the needs of students and employers and how that is going to inform your educational program plan. So there's 4 types of needs analysis is in a field that's called community assessment. And that's, really listening. And there's a lot that's been written about asset-based community development. Now, a lot of people don't even realize that asset-based community development is an alternative as opposed to needs-based. And, where that originated was it's kind of in reaction to the fact that it used to be that all community development was, let's just start with needs, let's start with what's wrong, and then let's try to address that. And then they realized that, no, we need to also, let's look at the strengths. So, but traditionally, what needs-based, and this is external. So what this bottom part is external. This is you're going to be doing objective or objective measures, or more objective measures rather than internal, and I'll explain a little more of that later. So this would be community needs assessment through objective or external research. So that might be what's taught in most schools through doing interviews, surveys, research. But the idea is you're not a part of the community. You're looking into the community that you're serving. So it's assuming that you're kind of external to the community that you're serving. Then the asset-based community assessment and mapping is also taught through objective research. And it's taught in many universities in books. Now, the other component of this is subjective assessment of needs from Indigenous leadership and cultural immersion. So, for example, a Latino church, whenever I was in Boston, there's a Latino church that was just phenomenal in meeting the needs of the Latino community. Well, they did some surveys, they did some interviews and things along those lines, but the whole community that was being served was the Latino community, doing the serving. So they understood inherently. So that's what I mean by internally. You're a part of the community. You understand it. If you want to get better at this, one solution to understand community needs is to do a bunch of surveys. Another solution is to move into the neighborhood and to be familiar with what the needs are. So then on the asset-based side, so that might be so taking a subjective assessment of community assets from Indigenous leadership and cultural immersion, that might be, and the Black church in the United States is phenomenal at this. So they are really good at identifying and mobilizing the social capital of the Black community. So you're taking the assets, and because you're a part of the community, then you're good at mobilizing this. So this would be just studying it. This is actually mobilizing it. So the idea behind this is if you're trying to do needs assessment and you're trying to do, understand capabilities assessment, you want to combine all 4 of these. That's going to be the most effective. Now, that's one key principle that we want you to understand in this course. Now, another key principle is just the nuts and bolts of a lot of people. They'll come into educational programs and they assume all students are the same. And the reality is that you need to understand that different students are going to be different. So, if you're running a residential recovery program or a Christian homeless shelter, on your application, are you assessing their previous education? Are they a high school graduate? Do they have a high school equivalency, some college or degree? I was visiting one rescue mission, and there's a homeless individual that I sat down and was having dinner with, and I come to find out he had been a medical doctor, and he had a problem with alcoholism, became homeless. Well, it's pretty important in terms of asset-based community development to understand you have a medical doctor who became homeless, in terms of how you're going to educate that person versus someone who might have a sixth grade education. So you need to have a place for tracking, client database, or often case management tracking system. And then you might need to do assessments for adult basic education. So, especially if people don't have high school equivalency or secondary equivalency, and even if they do, sometimes, assess their math level and their reading level to figure out where they would go for placement. Because you might have a program where you have some people who are doing third grade math and some people are doing college math, and how you're going to, support them is going to be different. Then you have ongoing personality, gifts, skills, and interest inventories. I say that ongoing because that's probably not going to happen right at intake. You're going to keep, doing that throughout your program. So, survey and interview them to understand what our clients' felt needs and goals versus real needs. So someone may say, my felt need is I need a job, but you recognize that their real need is they need to have better soft skills so that, whenever they get their next job, that they don't get fired from their job. And then there's other things you can do: personality tests, Myers-Briggs, Holland Codes. A lot of Christian groups will use this shape profile, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And we've combined a lot of these assessments into our course, Vocation, Calling, and Purpose of Work. That's available for free at the City Vision Institute. I'd mentioned earlier that this course itself is one piece of the puzzle, but we're providing a tool that you can use for client assessment called Vocation, Calling, and Purpose of Work. That's going to be available for free on the City Vision Institute.org. So this website is a site where we provide free copies of our course, and it's kind of like if you download apps on your phone and you get a free version of the app and then you can upgrade. We want you to spread the word more widely and to share some of these free resources. So this course is available for free on the City Vision Institute. And we have a free copy of our Vocation, Calling, and Purpose of Work course that isn't available today whenever I'm recording this, but it will be available within the next month. We've had over 17,000 students take our courses. Probably by the end of this year, we'll have over 25 or 30,000 students. And we're providing this as a tool that you can use for client assessment. So let me talk a little bit about how you can do that. So within the course, we have a lot of tools, and you may not want to use all of these tools, but we have a lifeline exercise where it's just tell your life story and then just, draw, how it goes up and down. And what it does is it's a tool to help get people to open up more about their life story. And then the second week is focused on relating personality type to career and calling, specifically doing Myers-Briggs and Holland Codes. Then the third week we have a shape profile that also covers abilities assessments, and that's really important. Then we have, doing career path research and planning, and then we use a book called Every Good Endeavor, and we have a video with that, and that kind of gets into Christian worldview. And then we have the students develop a life plan. Now, you may not want to do all of these. You could have clients do a self-study of the whole course. They could just run through it and, say every Monday, go through this course. Or you could take individual lessons, templates, or components of the program. So you may really like our shape template. You may like our lifeline exercise. You might just want to use those. Or another option is you can have your clients take the full City Vision online course. So most clients in adult education, especially if you're serving lower income communities, are going to get a Pell Grant. Not always, but many will get a Pell Grant. So ultimately it would end up being free for a lot of them. And then that way, you're outsourcing and City Vision is doing the work. So let me just show you what the shape profile is that we have. So the shape profile, this was developed by Rick Warren. He was the Purpose Driven Life guy, his church. And the idea is it looks at 5 different things: spiritual gifts, your heart, your abilities, your personality, and your experiences. And what we do is we have students go through and we have them take tests for their spiritual gifts. And this is several, spiritual gift tests. Then on the heart, it's what do you enjoy? What do you love to do? What makes you alive? Your abilities. There's actually several abilities lists that we have here, but then there's websites like My Skills, My Future that help people identify their skills. And you would be amazed. A lot of people have someone who comes in who may have been homeless, and they're like, this person probably doesn't have skills. You take a skills inventory, you'd be amazed at some of the skills that people are coming in with, and it's really helpful to understand. So that's kind of the asset side of things. The personality test, we have a lot of resources for free personality tests. Holland Code is really helpful, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the experiences, and that often God will use your experiences. So that's another tool that you can use, and just to connect some of these personality type things. So we have some tools that, if you're familiar with Myers-Briggs, you get a 4-letter summary of your personality type whenever you take the test. But the idea is, depending on your personality type, it might give you hints on what type of career you want to do. Now, you don't want to overdo this and say, oh, I'm an ISFJ, so I must need to be a nurse, because that's, being formulaic, and that's going to pigeonhole people into things. But it can be helpful to recognize, oh, all these types of things are things I've considered, and I might really enjoy them because of my personality type. With Myers-Briggs. Now, Holland Code is really interesting, especially with adults, because it frames things that relate a little more to careers. So often, a lot of adults that didn't do well in academics, it's because they have a Holland Code that's in this realistic, practical, hands-on, tangible work. So they're more into building. So a lot of jobs programs will be focused on vocational technical, but the problem is that I've seen a lot of Christian ministries or rescue missions. They put 100% of their students into vocational technical. And the reality is that's not serving who they are, because they're more diverse than that. And you need to figure out, who are your clients, how are they made, and then by taking this Holland Code, then you'll get a profile that can help with that. Now, there's a tool out there that's called ONET. Some of you may be familiar with it, but part of what's so interesting about ONET is it takes the Holland Code. So this is a Holland Code profile of someone. And then within that, you can see, okay, investigative's the strongest, and social, and then enterprising. And within that, you can, after you go to this mynextmove.org, depending on the education level, you can look at jobs that vary across education levels. So you might have some clients that have little or no job preparation. So then you'd click on that. So some job preparation is a high school diploma, and then you might have some people who want to get a bachelor's, and then you can click on that and see what the job options are there. So part of what makes this website so interesting is it uses Holland Codes that really was designed for helping people discern their vocation, but it also helps them, explore options depending on their education level. And ONET, part of what it does is once you click on an education, then you get a lot of the details of this. So I clicked on business teachers, post-secondary, for people who are doing higher education, and it's going to show, okay, here's the knowledge you need to know, here are the skills you need to have, here's the abilities, here's the type of personality that works well with that, here's the technology skills you need, here's what the job outlook is. So that's something that you can get from ONET. So the next part of this course is going to be going into the major project. So as I mentioned, each week. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to answer a lot of questions about your client educational needs and capabilities. You need to interview someone in the organization to do that. There's issues with interviewing clients themselves. because you get into some legal issues if you start to interview clients and whether or not that's considered, human subject research. If you work for the organization and your day-to-day activity would just be, interacting with clients, then it's going to be fine for you to interview clients. But if you're going to a third-party organization that you're not affiliated with, in many cases, it's going to be problematic for you to, interview their clients directly. So because of that, we would just encourage you to interview the staff. So hopefully this will be helpful. If you have any questions, please ask your faculty member. Thanks a lot.